my name is Ranger Elizabeth from the Parklands of Floyd's Fork, and today we're going to answer the question, what do riparian forests do? So put on your hiking boots and let's get started. Throughout this entire unit, you've been learning about how water quality is important to both humans and ecosystems. And today we're going to talk about a really important aspect of water quality in nature, and that is riparian forests. So the word riparian really just refers to the land that surrounds a creek or a river or even a pond and lake. So we're specifically going to look at riparian forests, which are areas surrounding a creek that have mature trees, mature plants, and native species. These are really important for water quality in many ways, and that is what we are going to look at today. So let's take a look at this habitat here. So this is a prairie. Off in the distance we have a parking lot, and if I turn around I can actually see the beginning of the riparian forest. So here our habitat transitions from a prairie to a riparian forest, and if I were to walk about 20 feet into that forest on this trail, I would come to the creek. So a buffer of about 20 feet is a great way to ensure good water quality in your creek, because that ensures water flowing over this landscape can travel at least 20 feet. Any pollutants and sediments in that water would be picked up and stored by the trees before that water reaches the creek. When we talk about pollution, we're really just talking about anything that can go into an area's water and make it unhealthy for plants, animals, and humans that rely on that water to survive. And there are two types of pollution that we are going to talk about. The first is called point source pollution. Point source pollution is a type of pollution that comes from just one source. So I like to remember it by saying that I can point at the source it comes from. So for example, this is some gross pollution right here. It's not really pollution, but we're gonna act like it. And if I were to dump this right in the water, that would be considered a point source pollution, because you can see and point to me putting this pollution in the water. The second type of pollution is called non-point source pollution. And this is just a pollution that is very general. It comes from multiple different places, and you can't really point to one specific place or source for the pollution. So an example would be maybe a creek that runs through a neighborhood. You can't point at the specific house or the specific pipe that causes pollution through that creek. You just know it's coming from the general area around the creek. In this recent video of a flood, we can see lots of sediments in the water. These sediments block sun and oxygen from entering the water and can make it difficult for aquatic plants and animals to survive. Here, sediments are considered pollution. Many trees grow along the banks of creeks, and you can see their roots if you were to explore. Some common trees that grow around creeks include sycamore trees and Osage orange trees. And today we're looking at these trees here, the roots of these trees, which are Osage orange trees. So while we can see the roots of these trees holding sediments in the ground, these trees are also serving functions that we don't necessarily see with our own eyes. Often, pollution will get picked up by rain and run over the surface of the land on its way to the creek. The roots of these riparian plants and trees, such as these Osage orange trees, will filter out these pollutants, keeping them from entering the water and causing pollution. If we were to cut down these trees and plants, the pollutants would flow directly into the soil and harm the water quality. Many ecosystems rely on trees and plants along the sides of the creek to slow or stop pollution such as sediments before entering the water. So we're going to do a quick experiment to see how plants can actually slow the runoff of water and sediments into a creek during a flood. So here we have set up, we have one bottle here, and this one only has dirt in it. This one here has mulch in it, so maybe like a mulch or a gravel lining your creeks. And then this one here, as you can see, has lots of plants growing in it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a bit of water. We're going to pour it into each riparian area and see which one is the most beneficial and which one has the least sediment running off into the creek. Okay, so the first one we will try will be just the plain dirt. All right, we can see that the water that came out was full of that soil. All right, the next one we're going to flood is this second riparian area here, and this one is one that just has mulch cover. And we can see that water flowing out has some dirt in it, but not a lot. So having some sort of coverage on your riparian buffers is good. And then the last one we're going to try here is our plant. And here we can see there is no water flowing out of this one because lots of the water is actually getting stuck by the plants and pulled in under the soil and being absorbed by the plant's roots. So overall, we saw that water poured directly onto just plain soil, ran off very quickly, and it pulled a lot of that soil with it. When we poured water onto the soil that had a top layer, such as mulch, it ran off still. We still had water flowing out, but the mulch sitting on top of the soil helped filter out some of the sediments that might have run off. And then finally, our riparian habitat, or our habitat with the plants, when I poured water in, instead of running off, it seeped into the soil and was actually sucked up by the plant's roots. And so not only did we not have water flowing off of the surface, we also did not have sediment flowing at either. So our riparian habitat with the plants slowed runoff, stopped runoff, and stopped sediments and pollution from entering into our water. Riparian plants are more than just plants that protect water quality. They also have lots of other roles. For example, they promote biodiversity within an area because many animals will actually live or hunt within the trees and plants around a creek. Additionally, during the spring and summertime when there are leaves on these trees will also capture carbon dioxide and release oxygen. This helps slow down the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that can cause climate change. These trees and plants help protect the geosphere by slowing the rates of erosion by holding in sediments and rocks into the sides of the soil. Throughout the city of Louisville, there are many creeks and other waterways that flow through urban areas. Urban areas are a huge source of pollution because you get things such as gasoline and chemicals from the roads, any sort of waste such as litter or animal waste that gets left on the ground, and just general pollution from urban areas. And these can all get picked up and washed into creeks that flow through urban areas. One of the best ways to slow this pollution or stop this pollution is by having trees and plants surrounding the creek so that those trees and plants can pick up any of the bad pollution that might go into the water and stop it from getting there. One of the reasons we want to stop pollution from getting into our waterways is because here in Louisville, we get our drinking water from the fresh creeks and rivers that flow through the city. And if we have a lot of pollution in our creek, it takes more time and money to remove that pollution to make it healthy for us to drink the water. So if we slow and stop pollution before it even gets into the water, simply by preserving the trees and plants surrounding our creeks, preserving those riparian habitats, it makes water easier to clean and safer to drink for people in Louisville. As the climate changes, one of the greatest challenges to humans will be access to clean and healthy water. Out of all the water in the world, only about 3% is fresh water. And of that fresh water, only about 1% is accessible and clean from pollution. Increased urbanization and the expansion of cities and suburbs put a lot of pressure on our waterways and threaten water quality. The best way to preserve good water quality, as well as probably one of the cheapest ways, is to preserve or plant new riparian habitats. The mature trees and plants in these habitats help slow down rates of erosion, and any water and pollution that flows over these riparian habitats can get caught and captured by these trees to ensure that our water stays clean enough and healthy enough to be used as drinking water in the future. By planting or maintaining riparian habitats, we're also encouraging native animal species to stay in an area and to help increase biodiversity. Additionally, mature trees help capture carbon and emit oxygen to help humans breathe and to stop some carbon dioxide from entering into the atmosphere and furthering climate change. Overall, preserving riparian habitats is a smart choice for cities looking to preserve good water quality. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to do the activities that go along with this video. Thank you.